So when Activision came and said we needed Ghostbusters on the 2600, I knew the challenge was to take the original game on the C64 and to cut what I had to, but to retain the feel of the game. Dave Crane had worked on the C64 version. That was the original version. And it had done very well, and Activision came to me as part of the Eastern Design Center and said, look, we need a 2600 version. Christmas is 3.5 months away. Can you do it? And I knew the 2600 like the back of my hand, so I said, sure, we can take some semblance of it and bring it down into the VCS. So I flew out to California, met with Dave, talked a little bit about his vision and what he had done on the Commodore, and then came back and really went to work nonstop. The challenge was I didn't have a C64 background, so I literally had the Pong backgrounds, as you know, the way the system worked. We had literally no graphics. We had to paint the graphics every scan line across the screen. We had 76 cycles to throw the data out. We had to count the number of scan lines. We had limited graphics or sprites we could use, 128 colors. And I tried to recreate as much as I could of the game that Dave had created and put in some feeling of the music and some feeling of the actual film. So I went off on what basically was a 8 to 9 week sleepless event of working nearly round the clock. First doing the road screen, then I created the map screen, and then I had to design the front of the building screen, and then do some of the logic of buying the actual instruments and the actual items. And that was kind of the last thing to squeeze in, because we had 4K for that, so we had less room in that than you have in an email, and we shoved a lot of stuff in. And I remember the last night, I think I had worked 3 nights straight, sent the code out to Activision to be tested, and got the okay. It was good. And I think a few days later, I popped in a plane and went to Japan for a week. So it was a crazy adventure, but it was the challenge to bring the C64 version into something that had much less memory and much less graphic capability. So the music was far less, the number of items you could purchase was far less. The screens were obviously not as colorful as they were on the C64, and I had to limit the number of screens in the game itself, but I still wanted to retain the feeling of driving around the map with the Ghostbusters to go to the various buildings that were being invaded by the ghosts. So the challenge was the map screen, for instance. I couldn't have little buildings, I couldn't have little windows, I couldn't have sort of this 8-bit look or almost 16-bit look of buildings. I had to have colored blocks. So I decided a colored block was green for a building and flashing red if it's getting attacked by a ghost. So I had to take some license there and actually redo the Ghostbusters graphics. Another thing that took a little bit of work was actually creating the Ghostbuster logo. And we did that by not having a lot of things on the actual map screen, but using all of the players at hand to create the actual Ghostbusters symbol in 2 colors. So you had a feeling you were actually controlling the branded Ghostbusters symbol around the map. I did Ghostbusters for the NES, Ghostbusters 1 and Ghostbusters 2. Got an opportunity to hang with the actors for a day in New York City. Got actually a chance to hang with Ernie Hudson and his son, who ended up doing some game testing for us, which was a lot of fun. But we had to take the Ghostbusters movie and bring it over to the NES, and then we did Ghostbusters 2. which wasn't as big a box office success, but we had to retain the feeling of that and the new storylines. So we had to create again another driving scene, this time horizontally. We had to create the scene of capturing the ghosts, this time in the subways of New York City. And we had some limitations, but we were much more open to what we could do. I had a lot more power in the NES than I obviously had in the 2600. So that was a lot of fun to be able to do things I couldn't do in the original game. Got it.
Did you get it? All right,
Yep.
Cool.
All right. So I'm driving around with my little Ghostbusters symbol. Ah, and here we go. The big blocky car. The issue with that I had is that I had to do what was called oh, hold on. Got a ghost. Got one guy out. Got another guy out. Gotta wait. Come on. Can't cross the streams. Missed him. And I got slimed. You can see this game has in it the Activision Sunset we tried to put in all of our cartridges, which is in there from Barnstorming. And what you try to do is when you're on the map screen, you try to cross a path on the map of a ghost. And that means that as you're driving, you'll actually then be able to see a ghost that you can vacuum up. Come on, come on. I crossed the paths and not happy. Up. I'm getting a yellow flash down there. I've got to go down there. I've got to go back and get myself some more tools. And I have the PK energy going down, the $ showing up. There we go. We got another Ghostbuster. Yes, sir. Did I?
No, I was going to say, I remember there was a differential between the NES and the 2600 version. Did you go back to the store on this one or no?
Actually, you can. But I just went back to pick up a new Ghostbuster. And now I'm going to go drive and let's see if I can suck up the ghost. Here he is. Got him. There we go. Very funny, the ghost that I had created for Ghostbusters in my youth and in some of my later years, I did sleight of hand and magic, and one of the card tricks I did used a little ghost, and so I remember using that as the graphic inspiration for the ghost you suck up as you're driving, because I couldn't actually create the one as good as was done on the Commodore 64. All right, we're gonna get one. There we go. Oh, got him. Nice, and the guys, all the graphics we could do at the time, and we're gonna head back and get some more. And that is Ghostbusters. I see Zool at the top there. And actually, the map screen is actually very complicated to do. It looks very simple, but very hard to do on the Atari, because you have non-mirrored things flashing around, and you have a symbol made up of 2 players and multiple ghosts, and it was actually quite an endeavor to get that map screen. There we go. Let's get him right. Oh, just missed him. And it's strange, you say nostalgia. I remember the night that I wrote the screen kernel to do the driving. I remember sitting in bed one night thinking, how am I going to do the lines on the road? How am I going to do the car? And I got up and went over to the terminal and just batted it out and said, oh, that worked. Cool. Would you like me to play another game?
Okay,